and tone where everything you see here today is necessary. And if you disagree with that, you're more than welcome to change my mind.
Yeah.
All right. So which part of that, the left is predominantly responsible for the tone of political violence today, do you disagree with?
Well, I have to think that we first have to consider how many people are on the left and what is the true ideology and mythos behind this new.
Yeah, there was a lady with a mustache. Look, I'll just go back real quick. See? Can you kind of see it? Looks like there's stubble there. Stubble. Straight up. Like you can see it right here and then right here, like a little stubble goatee there. Can you guys see it? Let me make it full screen just in case to really get the really see the facial hair. and radar ears like wings. Yeah. Like she's been taking tests. Yeah. Yeah, testosterone. Yeah. So yeah, full on mustache right there. All right, let's go back to that other girl. The Looney Tunes girl.
And welcome to change my mind.
Yeah.
All right. So which part of that, the left is predominantly responsible for the tone of political violence today, do you disagree with?
Well, I have to think that we first have to consider how many people are on the left and what is the true ideology and mythos behind this new occurrence of violence that we see with the left.
Okay.
Of course, I mean, there's potential skews of media. I don't doubt that crime is not happening, but how many people are truly committing crime out of the sake of leftism or out of the sake of radicalism? Or could it be plastered on there just to get this ball rolling about narrative? The only other question that I had, a personal question about you is, and it's a tough one.
Well, is it related to the topic?
It is.
Okay.
Would Jesus be on the left or the right?
Well, that's a conversation for another day. We talk about that in church quite a bit. I don't necessarily know that he would fit within the current American left-right paradigm. But I will tell you one thing. Jesus would certainly be against political violence as a form of intimidation or coercion. It seems to me like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not disagreeing with the idea, the uptick that there is an increase in political violence from the quote unquote left. You're just not sure if you define them as left?
Partially, yeah. I just don't necessarily want to just assign political violence or terrorism directly to the left because we see political violence across the world in forms of autocratic or conservative ideologies. So maybe China is a really good example. Arguably Russia,
of leftist violence?
Of leftist violence, especially. Or, well, no, autocratic and conservative violence.
China would be conservative?
I would believe so because they're an autocracy. So they have to practice conservative ideologies to obtain, they can't liberate their people. That's what the left is. That's what liberation is.
Well,
yeah, so China, that's an example of conservative violence. China. Yeah, this is the college-educated woman right here.
I don't know how familiar you are with the CCP, but they're communist, and they did so under the guise of liberating people. And then, of course, you don't actually have any democratically held elections again. So they are communist. They've done so to liberate people, namely from the decadence, the quote unquote shackles of the Western world. I'm just a little bit, I guess, flummoxed as to how you would define communist China, the Communist Chinese Party, as right-wing.
Well, because when Marx wrote his communist ideologies, it was conservative based. He didn't enjoy other people, races. He wanted to eliminate races.
What does it have to do with conservatism?
It has to do with human rights because conservatism isn't looking to liberate people from or define human rights. It's looking to remove human rights, conserving the beliefs of the state and conserving the beliefs of elitism.
Okay, so what if your premise is flawed? So what if conservatism, and I understand, by the way, I agree with you, it means different things across. For example, conservative in the UK. In Canada, you're basically a liberal or a liberal separatist. There's no real conservative party. But in the United States, it's not about conserving the state. As a matter of fact, our Constitution is very unique in that it said the state doesn't grant any rights. So it's preserving the Constitution where you are granted unalienable rights, meaning birthrights by God. And the state only serves to recognize those rights and protect them. And so if the state ever infringes upon the rights that are naturally yours by birthright,
But who assigned
it's-
natural rights?
well, again, the founding fathers would be concerned. But natural rights being,
Republican.
well, this was before the Republican Party.
Am I correct?
This is the
Right.
Republican Party.
Yeah.
But I'm just confused. So you would say that communist China, conservative.
I would say it's autocracy that uses conservative.
Okay. But how is that conservative? For example, you say doing away with races. How is that conservative?
It conserves their power over the state or over the nation.
So you believe that conservatives want the state to have more power?
I think that we define conservative beliefs by our Republican values. But conservatism across the globe looks very different.
Okay. Well,
Does this woman even know what the hell she's saying? Like, does she even know what the hell she's talking about? Or did she just press like autoplay in her brain and that's what's going on here? Because no way in hell does she think she's making any sort of sense.
agree that different parties, because there's also the Conservative Party, for example, whereas here it's the Republican Party. We're talking about conservatism in the United States. It seems to me that your presupposition is that conservatives, Republicans want more state control, want more government power, as opposed to the Democrat Party, liberals. Okay, that would apply over healthcare, what you can eat, what you can drive, taxes. They're more left, they're more liberal, more open-minded on the left with those policies. Okay, I would just disagree with that, considering if you just look at marginal tax rates and you look at gun policy, you look at speech policy, you look at energy policy, what you can drive. But going back to political violence, you said you wouldn't want to ascribe the uptick that we both recognize, political violence to the left. What would be required for it to be ascribed to the left? What if they said it was? Like, what if
Because
someone's...
I would say, like, I'm looking at this globally.
Well, let's talk about here in the United
In the
States, because that's what we're
United
discussing.
Yeah, why does she keep fucking
Like, what I'm asking you is, what would be required if someone were to commit an act of political violence and you consider it on the left? What if they said it's because they're on the left? Would that count?
I wouldn't say so, no.
No.
I think if somebody is doing an act and towards the left, what side of the left and why? Because
Side of the left.
what we refer to as the left is now a religion and ideology.
I would agree with
This
that.
is a secular movement.
Secular humanism,
And,
yeah.
well, you can really say demonic too, because like a lot of those people are nuts. And to try to return back to their liberalist state, because in some ways, liberalists believe that they've been robbed of human rights. It's a radicalism of people. That,
Right.
honestly, if the conservatives, like maybe 20 years ago, started assigning themselves the idea of human rights or like, public policy and things like that, there would probably have been a switch around for the conservative movement to be more actually the radical people.
Do you mean like the Civil Rights Act or like
Civil Rights
Emancipation Proclamation,
Act,
freedom of speech policy, Section 230, Second Amendment? Do you mean those kinds of rights?
those kinds of rights, but
If the right had been spearheading those?
and probably a little bit more socialist ideas. But of course,
Well, it's not just change the definitions, right? What you can't do, or I would disagree with doing, is saying racist means conservative, because it doesn't, right? Most slaveholders would be Democrat, and I know we would talk about how the parties have switched. You can't say KKK equal, those would be largely Democrats. There's nothing conservative about racism. There's
but
nothing.
again, I think that we're
So that's-
assigning
or saying that-
Republican parties
Yeah.
and Democratic parties when conservative.
That's what we're doing. We're discussing it here in the States.
Assignment of Republican, because if you want to argue that Republicans were liberating people, wouldn't that constitute as a left nowadays?
Why would that be left?
Because they're liberating people from slavery, and it's a Republican mindset. We don't.
No, I don't see how that would be left at all. As a matter of fact, I think your fundamental flaw that I would argue is this idea that the left is more concerned with individual liberty. That makes sense why you would ascribe conservatism to communism. I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who agrees with you. But right now on the political violence,
Well,
let me ask you this.
Karl Marx, he was a conservative.
Wanted to do away with the nuclear family, wanted to seize the means of production and distribution. I just won't agree with you that anything about that is conservative. The political violence, the assassination
I
of
think
Charlie
that you're
Kirk.
confusing conservative with Republican ideals. And
Okay.
The Republican ideal is
Okay.
to protect the family. In some ways, you could say it's conservative.
Sure,
family,
yeah,
but
conservative.
again,
And
that is
Karl Marx
our-
wanted the state to be in charge of the family.
That is the American perspective on conservatism.
Okay.
But the arrival of like what is liberalism, what is conservatism, we can't assign it to American Republican Party or Democratic Party because people hold left-leaning views in the Republican Party.
Sure.
We can say that Republicans want to liberate the world from war nowadays, at least with Donald Trump's administration, and that the Democratic Party wanted to do more war in what was it, Bush's era, right? So what is the confusing?
Well, did you say Bush was a Republican? But I would agree with you.
Maybe it's a Clinton. Clinton was.
Yeah, I mean,
Democrat.
I will say this: all presidents have been more pro-war than how they campaigned, with the exception of Donald Trump. I think we would agree on that. Political violence, the assassination of Charlie Kirk in cold blood. Would that be leftist political violence?
I think that was a Satanist.
Okay. Daryl Brooks, Waukesha, running people over. He's a black supremacist who wanted to kill cops and white people. Would that be leftist political violence?
And he is a part of the BLM or Black Supremacy movement.
And would you not consider that among the left? Antifa, would that be considered among the left?
I think that they're assigning themselves a party to assimilate with, but that doesn't necessarily, it doesn't account for leftist values because
Okay.
the leftist.
So let me ask you, here's, because I don't want to waste too much time on this. How would you curb political violence, right? The whole reason for crime statistics is a risk assessment to see who's most likely to be victimized and prevent it in the future. I get that you're in college and I understand that things can be kind of nebulous or abstract, but there are real people dying,
Yeah.
right? And some of them are people I've known
I studied
sitting in this exact, okay. So where is the violence coming from in the country right now when you take into account Charlie Kirk? I mean, what just happened here down the road at ICE or Alvarado, I'm not sure it's pronounced as well. We haven't gone more than 3 days in the last 3 weeks without significant acts of self-identified leftist terrorism. How would you curb it? If you're going to curb political violence, and it seems like you're not willing to say that anything is political within the paradigm as it's universally recognized, what would you do?
I think people need to get off social media. They're becoming radicalized through that.
Okay.
How much time can you spend on TikTok, like cycling through the same, like violent ideologies? Because conservatives can have.
I'm banned from TikTok because I said Xi Jinping has a small penis. So that's the
I don't
Communist
care about
Party.
TikTok. I can say Instagram as well.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I agree that social media can be very toxic, but we're seeing real acts of violence. So assuming that you can't wave your magic wand and ban all social media.
Are you meaning in terms of like policies? Like if I had a seat in.
Well, we need to identify the problem. Where do you think the political violence is coming from more right now?
I mean, that's a good point, Ken. You know, this is why like you have Andrew Wilson, he like gets definitions. He gets the definitions first because yeah, it seems like she has this whole different idea of what conservatism is, you know? And that's why it maybe like when she talks about conservatism, she's talking about something completely different, and that's why she doesn't make any sense when she's talking, you know?
I think on a global scale,
In the United
it can
States.
be both.
In the
And
United
that
States.
In the United States, I can't speak on the United States because I don't think it's just the United States.
No, but that's what the conversation is today.
Right.
So if you don't want to, that's okay. But I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate the disagreeing, the disagreement respectfully. You're never going to get me to say that the Communist Chinese Party is right wing.
Well, of course you wouldn't
Yeah.
because like you represent the Conservative Party and the Republican Party most.
Well, there's no conservative party here. I'm just
And
conservative.
There are
Party.
examples of people who are carrying out things violently, but it is not just the leftist ideology. It is a religion to
Sure.
something greater. And that's what I just want to assign it, is that because, yeah, of course. And like I kind of already iterated my points, but
No, and I think, yeah, and we would agree, Karl Marx loathed religion and wanted to replace it with the religion of the state.
yeah.
And that's what we see from these leftists. But I appreciate you sitting down, Madison. Thank you very much. Are those furry pants? So that they look,
They're furry pants and what?
well, they're fur.
Bear pants.
Oh, they're
These
bear
are
pants. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Adidas shoes that are
She's like, what? Furry pants? Meanwhile, they're all furry.
very,
They're
very
bear pants. I mean, I thought bears were furry, but okay.
exclusive and rare, but
So what took you back when I said furry pants if they're bear pants? I didn't mean to offend you. They look like fur.
Yeah.
well, they are bear.
Okay.
Boston.
They're
Are bears not furry? Oh, geez. Now we have to get her to find furry now.
bear
Are you a
pants.
fan of Boston?
No, not very much. I only spent a little bit of time there with the hockey exchange. Montreal, we do an exchange with the Boston, and it's
Yeah, maybe that's what it was, James. Like, yeah, maybe she thought he was calling her a furry.
and intensely uneducated and often quite racist people. But thank you very much, Madison.
Of course.
I appreciate you taking the time. God bless.
God bless.
Well, I want to pause it on the pants because she was just like furry pants. What the hell? But meanwhile, they're furry. Again, are bears not furry? She's like, these are bear pants. Yeah, I mean, you can't really see, but like they're furry pants. The hell is she talking about? Anyway, yeah, so that's what I meant. Like this woman, like, I don't know what she was talking about, and the most that she made any sense was when she said how some people on the left are kind of crazy and kind of its own it's its own religion in some aspects. It's like, yeah, it's very true. That's the only time she made sense, but everything else is like, what a waste of a conversation. And again, this is a college educated woman. This is supposed to be our future, our best and brightest here. Yeah, she's absolutely cooked, like completely fried out of her depth. So here, I wanted to watch this one. This one looks like it might be good.
I don't know how familiar you are with what this series is, but
First time hearing
Okay.
about it, so much, but I know the memes.
So,
that's about
yeah.
it.
I didn't see that one coming. As far as when it happened, I was like, oh, it was just me at a table.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it's not. It's
Right.
not clips and reels and shorts and dunks and gotcha and clickbait. If this conversation is productive and we're both having it in good faith, it'll be uploaded in its entirety contextually. It's an opportunity for us to rationalize, to reason our positions on what are viewed as controversial topics.
Yeah.
So before I get to the premise, and by the way, you can take this if you want. All this, we always make the sources publicly available.
Fantastic.
So if you just take that, that's yours. The QR code, you can go check the references.
Thank you. Okay.
And fact check me in case I'm lying to you, because people, I don't know if you know this, people in media do that shit.
Yes.
Could you do me a favor?
Yep.
And just so we agree, kind of read this: political violence, terrorism. This is defined by the current sources being cited out there, and I'll summarize it for people watching. Hopefully, we find common ground on the idea. Political violence is when violence is used as a means to a political end.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you vote Democrat and you accidentally hit someone with your car today,
Yeah.
who happens to be a Republican. That's not political violence.
Yeah, absolutely. There was.
But if you go, I'm going to get me a Republican, that would be political violence. We agree on that?
Yes. We can agree.
Okay. So what I'm asserting today is, sorry, I know we just touched hands, but it's okay.
Okay.
I'm fine if you're
All
fine.
good.
Is that by and large, the tone, tenor, temperature right now, certainly in 2025, of political violence is coming overwhelmingly from the left. And I think this leads nowhere good unless the course corrects. If you disagree, you're welcome to change my mind.
So I would disagree, one, in the statement that these blanket statements of the left is violent hurts the idea, creates a divisiveness of us versus them. I agree with what you're saying. I've been hearing your stats as well, that yes, it's disproportionately on the left as of late, and the stats I've seen as you defined. I think
So you agree with that?
I agree with that aspect.
Well, would it surprise you that a lot of people
So he agrees that it's mostly coming from the left as of right now, but he doesn't want to say the left the left is violent. Like, he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't want to just label all of them. And it's like, okay, well, you're pretty much saying the same thing, just not using the same word.
don't agree with that? They say well, there's more violence on the right. That's the talking point.
However, even if there is more violence on the right, or even if there is more violence on the left, I think violence as a whole is a problem. But I think you're also
Wow.
going to have
Right.
violence as you radicalize groups, regardless.
Sure. May I address that?
Yeah,
Just because
absolutely.
we are a little bit
Yeah, no,
tight
no,
for
yeah,
time right now. I
super- yeah,
apologize.
you're totally fine.
And I hear about radicalizing a lot. And by the way, the reason for that is, I can fit it on a sign.
Yeah.
And then I provide the context when we sit down. So I'm matching the rhetoric of the left, right? They say the right commits more crime. I go, well, no, actually the left is violent. But then I think I explain it contextually.
Yep, absolutely.
We hear about radicalizing a lot.
Yep.
So, and I think that does happen. I don't think it's possible to be in a right-wing echo chamber because all of media, all of Hollywood, all of mainstream press, these institutions in academia lean heavily left. I think some people can silo themselves off, but still, people on the right are more aware of the positions on the left than vice versa. But we hear about radicalizing. Let me ask you this. Okay, you disagree with that?
I would definitely.
But let's
disagree
assume
with that.
somebody's
Okay.
watching all the right-wing channels.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything that you can think of more radicalizing than a moderate conservative who sat down and spoke peacefully, being politically assassinated as an act of terrorism in cold blood, and then gleefully celebrated thereafter? And we tried to host peaceful memorials to mourn the death of our own, showing up, attacking, desecrating, spitting at every single vigil and memorial, and then blaming the right and saying we need to tone down the temperature. In other words, if you're a young conservative who watched Charlie Kirk, or could have been me, by the way, sitting in that chair, because there have been many attempts.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything on earth that could be more radicalizing than that, because the left still kept blaming the right. They didn't take the off ramp.
Okay, but I would also argue we don't know all the motivations behind why the shooters are.
Sure we do.
also we can't.
We do.
You know what pisses me off is that like they'll always like, well, we don't know the motivations, but yet whenever it's like someone that it's like even resembling right wing, all of a sudden it's like, no, we know the motivations, it's right wing. Like whenever it's someone that it looks like it could be from the left, then they're like, well, we don't know. But when it looks like it could be someone from the right, all of a sudden it's nope, it's definitely right wing. It's definitely that. You know, or let's say like a white cop shoots a black guy, all of a sudden it's no, we definitely know it's racism. Definitely. There's no other explanation it could have been. You know, but when it comes to left wing committing violence, possible left wing violence, it's well, we don't know, guys. Come on, we don't know all the facts yet. Like, come on, give me a break.
Okay, but it was come out and stated that he was like doing this for left-leaning political reasons
He said it.
far before you could have even known what it was.
No.
A lot of the statements. Right.
Are you aware that, by the way, I this is just because it's relevant, we had a leak under the DOD. So we were my team right here. They were the people who broke the news that there were engravings on the bullet casings.
Okay.
That were anti-fascist, that were weird trans sort of 4chan type stuff. That's the OWO notices bulge. And the reason it was leaked to us from someone at DOD, DOJ, is because they were concerned that it would be buried. So when we released that, which of course now we know is true, it's been confirmed, we were tarred and feathered as liars and fake purveyors of fake news. So we knew it before anyone else, and I've been following it since. He said it was an act of political violence. He said that he killed Charlie Kirk because he was hateful and fascist. That's enough for me.
That is wrong. Absolutely. So I can agree with
Well, not wrong. Do we agree that it's pretty clear what the motives are if the person who does it says it
yes, if he's said it, I mean, you could still.
and engraved it?
The engraving, though, isn't necessarily leftist. Like, I think you could definitely make an argument that it is leftist, but you could also make an argument. One, you could easily make an argument that you wanted to add division.
Shooting Charlie Kirk with a bullet engraving that says "fuck fascism" when Charlie Kirk, and by the way, yours truly, have been accused of being fascist for a decade, and then you read the writings of him saying he's hateful. That seems pretty clear to me. In other words, you sent a bullet with the engraving "fuck fascism" at the person.
Absolutely.
People said Charlie Kirk was a fascist. This person believed it, shot him because he believed he was a fascist. Is that not clear?
That is clear. What I would say, though, is that doesn't necessarily mean it's far leftist. But even if in this case it is far
I mean, that is clear, but it's not clear because it's leftist.
leftist, I still don't think.
Would we agree that the reasoning for the murder was the rhetoric of the left? They are the ones who accuse people like myself and Charlie Kirk of being fascist in comparisons to Hitler. If they weren't doing it, no one would think we're fascist.
I would agree that the rhetoric on both sides, though.
No, not on both sides. We don't accuse the left of being fascist and Hitler.
I agree. That's not necessarily happening, but I think that rhetoric in general, this far push, we are pushing so heavily towards a us versus them statement on both sides.
Oh no.
On both the left and the right, that the other guy is evil. And the other,
Yeah, the thing is that we're dying over their rhetoric. Like we're getting killed over their rhetoric. You know, they created an us versus them. They've demonized us. I mean, Joe Biden himself, when he was president, said, "Oh, mega extremists" and such. He called mega extremists, and you know, our the person that we wanted in was a threat to their democracy and was going to do all these horrible things. So they created an us versus them. Like they're the ones who started all this bullshit.
the guy is wrong, and that is true of a lot of both people that I know personally and in general. And we gain nothing from an us versus them mentality ever. The only time you can get benefit and value, that's the whole point of your show, is to build a relationship with somebody and talk through your problems. And it's when you recognize that the other
Build a relationship based on truth, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't believe in linking hands with people who celebrate the assassination. And the problem is that 62% of those on the left, 62%, YouGov poll after Charlie Kirk was killed, 62% on the left believed that it was somewhat to completely acceptable political violence. 77% of self-identified conservatives said no. Snap poll before Charlie Kirk was killed, 6-1, the left supports violence over the right. Another poll from Rutgers after Donald Trump, right, the attempted assassination, over 60% on the left supported it. You don't find that from conservatives against Kamala Harris, over 60%. Firebombing Teslas, over 60% assessed. So in other words, you do have to look at the rhetoric, you do have to look at the acts of violence, and you do have to look at the preponderance of evidence, the totality of the polls that shows one side of the political aisle justifies, supports political violence as a means to an end, and that is the left.
What about January 6th? As an example.
Let me give you some context for January 6th. Do you realize that more people?
Jeez, man, it's so always. But January 6th, that's the only thing they got. The only thing you got is but January 6th, January 6th. Meanwhile, we have this like laundry list of shit that they did, and with us, it's just but January 6th. So pathetic.
More people at ICE facilities in the state of Texas have been killed by left-wing violence in the last week than all of January 6th combined.
Yes,
Yeah.
there weren't deaths or killing during January 6th, major ones, because it was the
Well, there was.
It's-
There was one killing, Ashley Babbitt. There was one. Ashley Babbitt. She was the one that was killed.
the capital.
But my point is, why do you reach back to January 6th for whataboutism? Right up the street, you have more violence than January 6th.
Also,
And we haven't gone 3 days in the last 2 weeks without leftist violence. In other words, there's no equivalency.
Thank you.
What about January
I
6th?
agree, but however, also you have to recognize that
Agree, but over.
for one, the aspects of ICE, I think that is a major issue and a major problem. And if we could have time to go into that,
I know we don't have. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry because
They're booting us because of security.
amazing to go into, but like that right there is a major problem as well. And I think there is something to be said.
How so?
With ICE and all that. The lack of due process given to
Oh my gosh, the same talking points. These people, they're NPCs. They're parrots. They all have the same talking points. But my due process. Hey guys, what about my due process? Oh no. The people that snuck in here illegally and been allowed to live here illegally aren't getting their due process about being sent back. Oh no. Yeah, that's horrible. And by the way, even if that was, how does that justify the murder of ICE agents? How? He just said, yeah, I agree. But this guy.
Okay. So what you just said, I just want you to bear with me here. That kind of rhetoric, that there's a problem with ICE, no due process. People who are here illegally are not entitled to the same due process as American citizens. And that kind of rhetoric
Exactly.
is why people shoot up ICE facilities.
Yeah.
They're doing their job. A slight change in deportation policies. And by the way, I mean very slight, because Barack Obama did it too.
Mm-hmm.
He had to give speeches on it because he was like, guys, we have to deport some people.
I remember
A slight
some of those
change in
speeches,
border policy is not something that warrants any kind of justification for the fomenting violence that we see from the left. ICE is doing their job, and illegal aliens are not entitled to due process. They never have been.
Constitution
Exactly.
peoples in the U.S. are entitled to due
Nope,
process.
to American citizens, to natural American citizens.
And
Natural-
what
That would be like, imagine like if there was like a amusement park, right? So you had to buy a ticket to get in. And so then everyone in there has their ticket. They deserve to be there because they paid for it. They bought their ticket. And there were some people that were sneaking into the amusement park. And so the amusement park was like, oh, well, we got to get these people out. They didn't buy a ticket. They're not allowed to be here. And so then they try to kick them out. And then dummies like this are in there like, well, wait a minute. I might have bought my ticket, but he has just as right to be here as I am. No. Well, what about his rights, though? You know, he has the same rights as I do. That's exactly what jackasses like this guy is saying. That's pretty much what he's saying. That non-ticket buyers have just as much to be in the amusement park as him, or treated the same way as them. So if we wanted to kick him out, he should be treated the same way as the people who didn't buy tickets. That's exactly what this idiot is saying.
as American citizens.
Okay,
Someone happens to set foot in our country, if they're a terrorist, they're entitled to due process, as opposed to, and we're not, by the way, executing them, we're deporting them, we're sending them back to their country of origin.
yes, because that is what makes America amazing, is that you are innocent until proven guilty.
Where are you getting this idea that anyone
Yeah.
who enters the country is entitled to our constitutional rights and due process? Where are you getting that?
People in the U.S.
But where are you getting this idea? In other words, that's not anywhere in our laws and our founding and our constitution, that anyone who comes into this country illegally is entitled to due process and our constitutional rights. They're not. Where are you getting that?
In we the people under the U.S.
Oh my
it is the
They are not we the
Constitution.
people. They're not Americans. They're not allowed to be here legally.
But
Should violent criminals be allowed to vote on law
they
that relates to crime?
be allowed to have due process.
Why? Where are you getting it?
Because of the fact,
Aside from you feel that they should,
Fair.
what's the basis for it?
because that's how the Constitution is stated. and
It's
laid
not.
out, is that the people
It is
of the
not.
US okay,
That's what I'm saying. So where are you basing it if not
okay,
that?
Fine.
But the problem is you have people saying, hey, ICE are breaking up families. Hey, they're violating human.
Yeah, that's a good point, Woodwork Gunny. Yeah, but they get to ride all the rides before we're allowed to kick them out. Yeah, exactly. In fact, they actually get priority in the lines. They get to ride the rides first before us. Yeah.
Rights, civil rights. Hey, you know what? Let me put it this way, and we do have to get going.
Yeah,
If I believed that Joe Biden, if I believed what the left believes about Donald Trump and me as a voter, if I believed that Joe Biden was rounding up and killing white Christian men, if I believed that Joe Biden was a fascist, if I believed that Joe Biden was committing genocide, if I believed that Joe Biden was doing all of this, would strip us of all of our foundational, fundamental rights, and would never relinquish the reins of power or have a democratic election again, I'd be in the street with a gun. Those on the left believe every single one of those premises about Donald Trump and his voters. So do you understand why there's the violence?
Also, again, I would say that
Just like the beliefs about
but
ICE.
that is a generalization again, because you're saying every single one of the voters on the left, everybody on the left believes every single
I
one
believe
of
a
those.
majority of people on the left believe that. They believe what you believe about ICE. These are men doing their job. A slight change in border policy, that little rationalization leads to violence. Just like Charlie Kirk was a fascist and it was engraved in a bullet.
So here's the other side. I absolutely agree with you that like we should not be labeling people as necessarily things. They have beliefs.
Okay.
There are beliefs that I do not think Charlie Kirk should have been shot. Absolutely.
I know, I know that, but
I also
too many
think-
on the left do.
No, absolutely. But I still believe that like some of his beliefs were homophobic. But I'm not saying that he was a homophobe. And I think that's such a major thing that people have beliefs and we can talk through them about that. But
We can't though. We do have to
Yeah.
leave it on this. We can't because we get killed. That's the point. When the left, so here, when you say don't label, when people, and the left says tone it down from sitting at a table and having a conversation with anyone who will listen, because they took his life anyway and they tried to take mine. Only the left does that. No one on the left is afraid or has to have $250,000 worth of security to have conversations. We need to address the problem. It's the reason for crime stats. I agree with you. We should sit down and have conversations. That's why I'm having it. Most people can't because we get killed. And that's a fundamental difference.
I'll
let you close.
I still just disagree, you know. I'm gonna start calling the left we should just start calling them like Sir Mix-a-Lots, because they love big butts and they cannot lie. Like seriously, they love the word butt. Yeah, listen, I don't think people should be killed for saying stuff, but yeah, listen, I agree that I agree with what you're saying, but yeah, I don't think you should be beat up because you support ICE, but what ICE is doing isn't right. And okay, so what? And therefore they deserve to get shot and killed? Like, what is this? Yeah, generalization. Yes, it is generalization as if it's bad to generalize. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the whataboutism. But, and they have no problem. They have no problem like generalizing us as fascist or whatnot, like no problem. But then when it comes to calling them out and saying, hey, you guys are violent, hey, you guys are communists, hey, you guys are this, and it's like, well, oh my gosh. It's okay. It's not violent when we generalize you and call you guys Hitler or Nazis or fascists or whatever. But when you generalize us, well, that's just violent rhetoric from you guys. You guys are driving hate toward us. Yeah, pulling a Mix-a-Lot. Yeah, exactly. Seriously. It strikes me as a catch, not a pitcher. Yeah. Well, he had to do something while his girlfriend was out with while his girlfriend was out with her other boyfriend, he had to find something to do. So he just debated Steven Crowder. But I mean, these people, it's always like, but it's like, no more buts, no buts. It's wrong. You guys are still getting offended by things that Donald Trump says. Meanwhile, we're here talking about you guys murdering us. Like, we're over here now. We're past the point of being offended by of talking about words and stuff like that. No. Now it's like we're gonna have to worry about you guys unaliving us. Yes. Sorry that statistic proves what the statistic proves, but exactly. But I'm sick and tired of these people with their butts. Yeah, it's right. You're wrong. You're right. No one should be unalived for their words. But it's like, no buts. No buts. There's violence coming from your side. End of story. And it's not like it's just coming from some left-wing websites. It's everywhere. It's from the politicians. It's from the media. It's from the schools. All this anti-Donald Trump or MAGA propaganda comes from the left. Every person they demonize gets violence toward them. Did you guys notice that? They demonize Trump, gets violence towards them. They get right wingers, conservatives, we get violence towards us. Cops, they get violence towards them. ICE, they get violence towards them. Anyone that the left demonize becomes targets. I mean, Elon Musk was a target. Like people who just own Teslas were targets for a bit because Elon Musk was in Doge. He was guilty by association. And therefore, people who just own Teslas probably didn't even care, like bought the Teslas before Elon joined Doge, just probably liked the car, were at risk of getting vandalized because of these crazy leftists. How can they deny it anymore? They can't, and we shouldn't allow them to. So good job here, Steven Crowder. What did you guys think about this? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a like if you liked it. If you want to see more Steven Crowder stuff, I have some more content of his on my channel that I review. And you can also check out Louder with Crowder show on Rumble. Subscribe to their channel on Rumble. I'll have the link down in the description below.